Very small topic. In Nitin Singhania, there's again a very big list. But I am doing the culture institutions which were in the news and are generally important. Now, I don't know how much current affairs you have been following, but yesterday itself in the news, two of the basic things we covered in class were in the news. Two things were in the news yesterday. Can anybody tell me what were the two things? Not Persian, not Vadnagar. Something very, very, very simple, straightforward out of the PPT itself. Two things were in the news. Not Indore, not Ram Mandir, not Ayodhya, not classical language, not dark age. Namrata, what is the name of that? Yes, Vasundhara, very good. The Prime Minister yesterday was at Lepakshi. So Lepakshi was in the news. Lepakshi temple. What is Lepakshi known for? What is Lepakshi known for? Murals, and what is the peculiarity? It does not have primary colors, specifically blue. A lot of you are talking about a lot of things. Kalyan Mandap is not related to Lepakshi. That is not something that is specific to Lepakshi. Mural tradition, blue color absent, try to revise. And the other thing which was in the news related to Lepakshi was he saw a puppetry show there, which is Tholu Bomalata. There. The Andhra Pradesh shadow puppetry. So these were two things which were in the news yesterday itself. So this is how you keep your eyes and ear open. But most of you seem to be confused when I'm saying these things, which means that there's a major wave of Gajani effect. So I will let this sink into you. By that time, we will be done with culture institutions. So culture institutions which are in the news and are generally important are going to be covered. First such institution is the ASI. This is a very, very important body, the Archaeological Survey of India, as established by the British, with Alexander Cunningham as the first DG. And thereafter, you have the next one, which is John Marshall. ASI is responsible for two very important things: preservation and exploration. These are two things where preservation and exploration, ASI has the budget for preservation of all existing monuments and sites, exploration of new. But recently there's also one more new aspect which has been added to the ASI, which is getting antiquities back, which is identifying antiquities or artifacts which have been smuggled and getting them back into India. And they are governed by the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites Act of 1958, and thereafter the Antiquities and Art Treasures Act of 1972, wherein we have received a pamphlet. Ayodhya Mandir is made out of Nagara style, not Vesara. Nisha, you don't understand one thing. When I say Vesara, automatically Nagara is indicated into. And the pamphlet which you would have received, the person would not have an idea between the difference between Vesara and Nagara. Because Ayodhya is in north, they will automatically say Nagara style. But if you have seen the major big plan of Nagara, of the Ayodhya Mandir itself, which we will discuss tomorrow, if you'll actually look at it, and if you've ever looked at it properly, the whole mandir is made in this type of a basic plan from above. This type of a plan. If you have been watching the right videos, not influencers, but the videos which you will see, it is made out of this type of a plan. And this is a specific type of a plan. What is this called? This is called the Vesara style zigzag design, which is basically it is made on a Jagati. But the problem is the people who are giving you pamphlets do not have the idea what is a Jagati. They do not most probably have an idea what is history. Whatever they told you, I know what pamphlet you're talking about also. I have also received it, I know it. But the basic point is Vesara indicates Nagara automatically. Because Vesara is Nagara plus Dravida. So be very, very clear that yes, if you look at it, the Shikhar is a Latina, and thereafter there is what we call as clusterization of smaller Shikhars in the Mandap area itself. The basic design obviously is Nagara. Obviously is Nagara because there's no Gopuram, there is no boundary wall, there's no what, there is a water tank still. If you've seen the whole design again, there's a water tank. There are multiple elements in the whole complex which seems like a Vesara style because it is a hybrid style where a water tank is just next to it only. No main gate is there, but a water tank is there. So again, trust what I'm teaching you rather than some random pamphlet which only understands Nagara. Vesara needs a little bit, it's a nuanced thing. Obviously, everybody will say Nagara, but if you look at the whole design itself, it turns out to be Vesara in that regard. And no temple today is pure Nagara or pure Dravida. All of them have each other's features, therefore, all are Vesara only in that regard. So, for the purpose of the examination, if the mandir is asked, it is Nagara, but the whole complex is not Nagara. So, leave it, no issues. Okay. Now, when I was talking about ASI, ASI, two basic acts are governing this. And from illegal exports of Indian antiquities to preservation to discovery of new places, the basic point is ASI is the principal body. If you go to any what we call as monument, you will see guards there. Those guards are paid by the ASI. Any form of preservation work is also ASI. Everything is ASI. ASI that way is a very, very important body. However, the problem is that it does not have the budget. It does not have the budget which should be there. Which should be there. First thing. And second thing is that with regards to its duties, it does not have the staff also. So people don't want to be archaeologists, and generally the people who are involved in archaeology are very, very low in number. So it is very badly understaffed, and at the same point of time, it is getting out of that from the whole Indian budget. 0.075 is allocated to Ministry of Culture. Out of that, you have a 3 to 4% which goes to ASI, which is not a very, very big amount in that sense. And that way, ASI has a very big task to do with an understaffed and underpaid regime in that regard. Thereafter, the next organization is called CCI. But when I say CCI to you, the first body which will come to your mind is the Competition Commission of India. But there's one more NGO. There's one more NGO which is called the Craft Council of India. And today, most of our craftsmen survive because of the CCI. Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay, very important freedom fighter. She made sure that CCI was formed in 1926. And what CCI does is that it gives affiliations to, and gets affiliated to artisans. It gives them employment, visibility, and recognition. That way is CCI an NGO. I'm telling you it is an NGO because you have to remember this. It's an NGO which allows for the artisans to get recognized in the larger sphere of everything. First. Then one more interesting body is called the Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts. The IGNCA is important because for a performative art and performance or artist, this organization is very important because it allows for and gives visibility to new and emerging artists in that regard. Be it the acting, dance, drama, music, it is a very important institution for that. So there are three institutions, ASI, CCI, and Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, which basically play their own roles in their own space: performative art, the Craft Council, and the ASI, which is the primary body which does everything. But now come three academies, out of which one we will discuss tomorrow also in current affairs. One is called Sahitya Academy. Thereafter, it's called Sangeet Natak Academy. And the last one is called Lalit Kala Academy, or the other name is the Academy of Letters, but we'll talk about them later. The English translation of this. So, Sahitya Academy is the easiest. It is the Academy of Letters, Literature. There's a very interesting peculiarity about Sahitya Academy. How many languages are recognized by the 8th schedule? 22. Sahitya Academy recognizes 24 languages. 22 of the 8th schedule plus English plus Rajasthani. Total 24. This is a very interesting peculiarity that Sahitya Academy recognizes and awards different people according to the 24 languages which are prevalent in India. 22 recognized by 8th schedule, but English and Rajasthani, which are not part of the 8th schedule. Now, the confusion starts from Sangeet Natak Academy and Lalit Kala Academy. Now, Sangeet Natak itself means music, drama, dance is the Sangeet Natak Academy, which is basically performative arts, and Lalit Kala is basically visual arts or fine arts, which is basically painting, sculpture, etc. If you understand this, you can answer any question statement based out of this basic discussion, all affiliated to Ministry of Culture. So Sahitya Academy, the National Academy of Letters, 1954, gives awards in 24 languages as recognized by the Constitution plus English plus Rajasthani, and it gives fellowships and different forms of what we call as a recognition to different institutions, individuals who are keeping our languages alive. On the other hand, you have Sangeet Natak Academy. This is the one which basically since 1952 is keeping our intangible performative music, drama, dance traditions alive. And last but not the least is Lalit Kala Academy, which basically since 1954 is keeping under Ministry of Culture fine arts alive, wherein it's about how we talk about painting, sculpture, which are called visual arts. Those are performative arts. These are visual arts which Lalit Kala Academy protects. So we've done 3 plus 3: ASI, CCI, and Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, Lalit Kala, Sangeet Natak, and the Sahitya Academy. Anybody has any issue in these 6? Other than that, there are other bodies which are mentioned in Nitin Singhania. Only learn them once you have a grip over these 6 in that regard. If you want to. Okay. संगीत नाटक, संगीत का मतलब म्यूजिक होता है, नाटक का मतलब ड्रामा होता है. Okay. Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts is again funded by a trust which in a way gets a little bit of funding from the ministry. It is a place where performative artists can perform, and there are multiple exhibitions which are taking place from time to time. All under Ministry of Culture, obviously. Okay. Now this takes us to the story related to UNESCO. Under UNESCO, we get two basic ideas: tangible and intangible. The first question would be, what is tangible, what is intangible? Tangible means physical buildings and sites, something which can be touched. Intangible basically is performative art, skill, culture. It is non-physical manifestation of art form. Now, there are certain ISRO scientists in class who will say that, sir, how can you say this? A sculptor is intangible heritage, or sculpting is intangible heritage, but I can touch the sculpture. Yes, sure. But still, the skill of sculpting, which is in the brain of the sculptor, cannot be touched. So, for anybody who does not understand one thing, intangible heritage is expressed in tangible forms, but the underlying art form is non-existent. It is a skill, talent, experience. So please, there is no confusion here, and please do not confuse yourself or anybody else related to you with regards to this. Tangible heritages are basically monuments, are sites where people can go and see and touch the past. But when a dancer is dancing, you can't touch the dance. You can touch the dancer for sure, but dancing is a skill which you cannot touch. The same way, the words which I'm typing on, writing on the screen can be touched, but what I'm saying through my mouth cannot be touched. But I can give a intangible form a tangible form. I can give an intangible form tangibility. If you get it, if you're actually getting it, if you are not confused, beautiful. If you are thinking about it, I'm trying to remove this basic doubt from your mind in that regard. Tangibility, intangibility. Perfect. Now, first, let's discuss tangible UNESCO heritage. This was again in the news recently. UNESCO intangible, or what we call as heritage list. World UNESCO World Heritage List. Now, which cannot be touch, feel, intangible. Yes. Now, obviously, you don't have to learn this. That is not of your purpose here. But you should know what are the basic criteria which can be used in order to give a tag called heritage tag. Now, again, you don't need to know this. Neither do I need to know it. Neither does anybody need to know it. But what I'm trying to show you here is the openness or the interpretive, what we call as much space as possible has been given to interpretation. And that can be used basically to give this tag. So first, you can see the words themselves are very open-ended. You see, you have represents a masterpiece of human creative genius. Again, very open-ended. Interchange of human values, architecture, technology, monumental art, town planning, in landscape design. Bears a unique exceptional testimony to cultural tradition. Outstanding example of a type of building, architectural assemblage, landscape. So it can be an example itself. It can be it can be an example. It can be part of an assemblage also. But in UNESCO, there is not in heritage. There is three types of sites: cultural, natural, mixed. Natural are ones which basically are related to the geology of the earth, which is the history of the earth itself. So, moving away from traditional human settlement, tangible literary works, now you see natural phenomena, outstanding example of earth's history, and thereafter outstanding example of ongoing ecological biological process, contains most significant natural habitats in situ for biodiversity. That is why we divide them into natural, cultural, and then mixed is both together. And in India we have to concentrate on the cultural, but we have since 1983 multiple sites which have gone into this list. In situ, ex situ. In situ means in the same place. This have not done environment ecology. Environment ecology have you done? Anurag, Sachin, Sakshi. In situ means on site, like a national park. Ex situ means off site, which is the zoo, which is called a zoo. That's a ex situ, in situ. Now, before I show this to you, I have something here. Yeah. See, total number of sites in India: 32 cultural sites, 7 natural sites, 1 mixed site, which is basically Kanchanjunga National Park. Now, I don't attend them, so you should. Now, UNESCO World Heritage Sites in India. See, there is nobody who can learn all of them. You don't need to learn all of them. But what is ironic is that if you look at it, we have already discussed all of them in a way. Ajanta, Ellora, Taj Mahal, Agra Fort. Have we discussed them? And in UNESCO Tangible Heritage, current affairs matters, not the old ones. Then Sun Temple, Konark discussed, Mahabalipuram discussed, Goa discussed, Khajuraho discussed. So in a way, your whole course is actually revolving around the World Heritage Sites itself. Then you move further, you have Fatehpur Sikri, and we discussed about the Hampi capital of Vijayanagara, not specifically the architecture of it, which we'll discuss in regional tomorrow. Thereafter, Elephanta. Then we have discussed Chola, Brihadeshwara temple. Then Padakal, which is Karnataka. Again, this is something out of which the Virupaksha temple was in the news recently. Thereafter, you have Humayun's tomb, Qutub Minar, Sanchi, Shunga pillar, then Buddhist monuments, and thereafter, except for this one, which is the Darjeeling Himalayan railways, all sites discussed here either way have been discussed. Other than that, if you look at it, you have Mahabodhi temple, which we have not discussed, but then we've discussed Bhimbetka. Victoria Terminus, I showed you for modern architecture. Then we have Red Fort complex, Jantar Mantar, Chittor, Ranthambore, Jaisalmer, Amber Fort I showed you for the paintings itself. Rani Ki Vav we showed for Solanki architecture, and Nalanda Mahavihara we discussed through different contexts in that regard. So if you look at it, we have a whole set of things which we've discussed previously. But the basic point is you don't have to remember since 1983. Since 1983 makes no sense. What you have to remember are the past 2 to 3 years. So one is 2018 Victorian Gothic Deco Assemblage of Mumbai. 2019 is Jaipur City straightforward. 2021 was Dholavira and Ramappa Temple. 2022-23 and recently given is Hoysala Temple Assemblage and Shantiniketan. We will discuss these now. I hope that you are not going to, though I still, for the curious people, have added this, which is every UNESCO site. This was a very good article which came in the Indian Express. Every UNESCO heritage site is given here, in this form. Every site. I have to discuss the latest, which is Victoria, thereafter Dholavira, Kakatiya. Make sense? What are we going to discuss specifically? Yes? Okay. Now, now, now the in 2018, we have already seen this structure. See, the Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus, previously known as Victoria Terminus, in itself is a UNESCO heritage site. However, the South Kolaba area, which is basically the area where the British operated from, the whole area has now been accepted as one heritage site in that regard, because they believe that this Gothic deco, what we call as architecture, which is indicative of that initial period of Indo-Gothic architecture, is worth preserving in that regard. So this was given in 2018 as you can see here. It separately has the tag. Which is the Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus or Victoria Terminus. But 2018 they gave it to the whole set itself. And if you go in the South Kolaba sector from the Taj Mahal, what we call as the Taj Palace Hotel towards the High Court and the whole sector from Elphinstone College towards Sensex, what you will see is that this whole sector has a certain specific type of architecture. And that is what has been now preserved in that sense. Now, in 2021, Dholavira was given as a specific site. Out of all Harappan sites, one site got UNESCO heritage tag because of its water management. We've already discussed that. Already a question has also come. But from that assemblage, one question has not come. Dholavira was also given this tag with the Kakatiya Ramappa temple. The only temple which is not remembered for the god or for the king, but because of the architect. Ramappa was the architect. Now, the beauty of this temple generally is the fact that it is a very good specimen of what we call as Vesara style, and this is what I call Jagati, and the zigzag pattern which you can see here. The shikhar itself is curvilinear but is made in a stepped manner. That is why it's Vesara. It's a proper Vesara style temple. Obviously, Kakatiyas would be Vesara in that regard, with the use of what we call as black basaltic rock for sculptures in retrabeted structures itself. But what this temple got this tag for was not this sculpture, but for what we call as sandbox technology. Sandbox technology. Now, basically, there are multiple inscriptions near Ramappa temple which say that in 17th century there was major earthquakes in which all the different temples around it were destroyed. But this temple was not destroyed. In Mohenjo-daro, as it is, would not be a UNESCO heritage tag for India. Mohenjo-daro, Harappa are in Pakistan. So, sandbox technology is a very interesting technology which was used, which allowed this temple to not get destroyed. Basically, the pillars of the temple are actually made into a chamber which is underneath the temple, in which they have added basically sand. And what happens is that when the earthquake comes, the sand absorbs the waves of earthquakes. And therefore, whilst all buildings around it were destroyed, Ramappa temple, named after its architect Ramappa, is a specimen of anti-earthquake technology coming out of the 11th 12th century period itself. So very simply, the Ramappa temple here, the Rudreshwara temple, Ramappa temple in Telangana, is something which is unique to this temple. How? I told you right now, but somehow some of you are not listening or are too distracted or don't care. Ramappa temple, the base has sand in it. And again, I don't want to go into the mechanics of it. When the S wave, P wave, surface waves will come, the basic point is sand vibrates and absorbs the what we call as waves and does not allow it to go to the main pillars of the temple. This is an anti-earthquake technology which was used in the 12th 13th century period by the Kakatiyas and Ramappa. That is why it got this basic status. Are we clear about this? Is this technology used in Israel for to protect them against earthquakes? Question mark. तो एंटी अर्थक्वेक का मतलब क्या होता है? Again, I don't get it. It says anti-earthquake. In this era, obviously in this era, but till today, Burj Khalifa till today uses this basic idea. When the base of Burj Khalifa was made, it was given a certain sand base, and anti-earthquake technology till today uses sand so as to absorb the earthquake waves in that regard. So very simply, with no modern architecture, with no modern technology, Ramappa was able to basically develop this idea in his mind. Were they inspired from us? Sure, why not? Earthquake resistant. Can I move to Chennakeshwara temple, Someshwara temple, the temples related to Hoysala which got status this year? Now the latest current affairs is this. The sacred assemblage of the Hoysalas, we discussed this again in the context of those black statues are for aesthetic, obviously aesthetic purposes. उनका earthquake से क्या मतलब है? These are Vesara style temples. You have Chennakeshwara temple, Hoysaleshwara temple, and Keshava temple. 3 temples which were recognized under this. And Belur, Helibed, and Someshwara Puri in Mysuru are the three places where they were recognized. Now, these temples are a very good specimen of Vesara style. Somehow they have a Gopuram for entry, but once you enter, you get that beautiful zigzag design with the Jagati itself, with the black basaltic rock. If you move a little bit closer, you will realize the stellate plan is also there. The stellate plan, which is the star plan, is also there. And the sculpture here is actually very beautifully carved into the rock itself, which in itself is quite unique. That is why this was already in the representative list, but you go from nomination to what we call as tentative to then representative. So it was in the tentative list, now it's in the representative list. That's why you said Ram Mandir is Vesara. Yes, because Vesara already means Nagara in that regard. That is a technicality which I expected from you to understand, but you all are confusing that. But sure, why not? The basic point is when you have a small, low platform, then it automatically becomes Jagati. That is something you've taken from the what we call as the Vesara style in that regard. Now, let's get to know about them one point at least so that you can answer into the examination. Chennakeshwara temple made by Vishnuvardhan, and it has a stepped well along with the banks of the river Yakchi in Belur. Thereafter, Kesava temple dedicated to Lord Vishnu, made by again Vishnuvardhan, and it is known for its what we call as walled complex in which there's a Jain temple also. Then, other than these two, UNESCO status is valid for 10 years. No, UNESCO status is always there. There's no validity here. It's not it's not a grant. It's just a status given forever. If you preserve it correctly. The other one which was given along with the Hoysaleshwara art is Shanti Niketan. Now, Shanti Niketan is basically related to Rabindranath Tagore. That is why there was a question on Rabindranath Tagore also in the mains examination. Shanti Niketan developed in 1901 during the peak of the what we call as today as the concept of the rising nationalism, and rather just before the Swadeshi movement. And this school is also called as Vishwa Bharati. And the beauty of Shanti Niketan is that this school or this college does not just teach basic academics, but also has courses on music, dance, drama in an institutionalized way. A lot of our dance drama traditions in that regard have been preserved because of Shanti Niketan, because it preserved it within its courses itself. So Shanti Niketan, that was very, very important. Now you can expect questions from Ramappa, the Chennakesh, the Sacred Assemblies of Hoysala, and and the Shanti Niketan. These three have not been asked till this point in that regard. So before we go to GI tags, UNESCO tag can be taken back by the UNESCO if you are not taking care of the site in the way it should be. It gives more responsibility rather than any grant. UNESCO tags don't give any money. It's a responsibility given to you. So what I want to do is I'll give you a 5-minute breather. I'll leave you on this slide. Think of it, look at it, and thereafter we will move to GI tags. These topics are untouched by UPSC. The three things which I told you, right? We come back at 6 and we then move forward. I want you to look at it so that you can learn it here itself. Okay. Latest edition which has happened last month. The problem is there are close to 430 GI tags. So there is nobody who I think is that ambitious or dumb enough to learn 400 facts for one question, which not even is actually guaranteed. 20 till 2022 we had 411 for 417. Now it's 431 with additions recently in that regard. Now what becomes relevant is the idea or the concept of GI. The concept of GI is important for mains examination. That what is GI? What is GI? Now, the first thing is that it is geographical indications, GI. And GI is part of a larger concept under what is called as TRIPS, Trade Related Intellectual Property Rights, and in a way, the UN and the WTO recognize TRIPS, specifically WTO. Now, there's an act for GI, which is Geographical Indications Act 1999, but this protects intellectual property. Now, intellectual property can be divided into 4 basic categories. One is called patent, the other one is called copyright, thereafter it is called trademark, and then you have registered. And in a way, GI is related to trademarks, but GI is not part of this larger regime because these 4 are very vigorously and very strictly observed and used. On the other hand, GI is not that strictly, in a way, there is no in breach of GI, there will be no major consequences other than a reprimand, which I will tell you what it means. The patent is given to industrial design, to technology, to pharmaceutical companies. Bedaquiline was in the news because of this, that its patent was not given in India itself. Copyright is basically for literature and lyrics and songs. We have seen this small c. For example, my book is copyrighted to me, that you cannot use the book or the content, copy it without taking permission from me. So you have literature, wherever words are involved, it is copyright. Trademark is this, TM. So you have, for example, Nike, which is trademark. It will have a trademark sign here. We'll say TM here. Then you have, for example, yes, anywhere there are words involved, dialogues, movies, all comes here. Then you have, for example, the iconic Adidas, which is trademark, which is basically a symbol. For this is also a trademark. This is a Byjus trademark. Thereafter, registered. Registered is basically small r. This is for companies. So, for example, it will say Nike registered, and it will say something like this, trademark. So basically, these are the 4 basic things. Now, patents are given to individuals and to groups. Copyrights can again be given to individual and group. Trademark is given to a specific individual or specific company, and registered is also given to one individual, one company. Basically, if you breach any of these, you can be taken to court and you would have to then pay a certain amount of penalty, or you could also be losing your own company or its basic design or anything other than that. Very stringently, in a way, used and applied. On the other hand, GI is different. GI does not fall under these 4, but is a sister of the trademark category itself. Geographical indicator is a very interesting concept. The concept is that GI tag recognizes and identifies a certain product, commodity, for consumers and sellers And what it recognizes and identifies is a certain characteristic in a product due to its geographical origin. Meaning, what it does is that it identifies a set of characteristics with its geographical origin and then gives recognition to it. And that recognition is to make sure that a consumer can buy without knowing, or rather with knowing that it is authentic, and with recognition to the seller that he can sell in the market at a higher price other than anyone else. But a very interesting peculiarity about geographical indication is it is never given to an individual, rather it is given to all the producers from that area or geography. For example, you have a simple straightforward concept. For example, you have the Manipur chili, or you have Darjeeling tea. Now you can only put the name Darjeeling tea with a GI tag, or saying that it is recognized by the registrar of GI on your what we call as product, if you are producing in Darjeeling. But everybody from Darjeeling can do it. Same way, Muzaffarpur lychee, every lychee producer in Muzaffarpur can say that he has a GI tag. Who gives GI tag? The registrar of GIs, who is there or who is under the ministry or DPIIT, which is the Department of Industry and what we call as technology related to it. But more than that, it is given by the registrar within it, and other countries can also take it. Other countries can also take it, meaning India can apply for a GI outside in America, and an American can apply for a GI in India itself. There are no bars with regards to that. It is a product for not for a producer. It is for product not for producer. No, that is again wrong. Very simply, it is for a producer. If you are producing lychee in Muzaffarpur, then that lychee as a product becomes the Muzaffarpur lychee, and therefore when you're packing your lychee, you can say it is the iconic GI recognized Muzaffarpur lychee. So it is given to the producers of that area, or to the product if you take it the other way around, like Darjeeling tea or anything. So the very specific thing is the tag is given to a specific product, and the concept is lychee is grown in UP also. Lychee is grown in Karnataka also. Lychee is grown in Muzaffarpur also. But Muzaffarpur lychee would have a specific taste and characteristic which comes from the concept of being grown in Muzaffarpur. How about Tirupati laddu? Same thing. The laddu is the Tirupati laddu you can make at home itself. Tirupati laddu you can, for example, make it in any place in India, but you can't call it Tirupati laddu because that specific taste and the way it is made is specific to Tirupati. So again, it's not rocket science. It's very simple. Because it is being produced in a certain area, it will have a certain characteristic. The producer gets the chance to sell separately. The consumer gets the chance to recognize it without seeing fakes. That's it. That is the simple point. Simple, straightforward point. How does country interchange of tag works? Very simple. You see here, you see this list, you see in this Italy, you have thereafter, for example, Czech Republic, Germany. They are manufacturing a certain beer in India, or they are importing a certain beer into India, and that is German. So nobody else in India can write the Müncher beer on it saying that it is out of Germany. So we can apply for example, Alfonso mango in America. They can apply for their own product. So it is given to other countries also. 32 such cases are there where other countries are also given this recognition. So let me read it out to you. It will make more sense. If the same process, if making with same process, then they are different. No, that doesn't matter. I could be making Tirupati Laddu in Tirupati. I could be making Tirupati Laddu in Bangalore. I could be making Tirupati Laddu in Rameshwaram. But Bangalore and Rameshwaram cannot package that laddu as Tirupati laddu, because only when it is produced in Tirupati, it will have the GI tag. That is a basic point. Okay. It is specific to geography. A geographical indication means a particular item that has originated from a particular region only. The GI tag is an indication which is definite to the geographical territory of that product. The use of geographical indication may act as a certification and protection that the product possesses the specific quality and is made according to the traditional methods, enjoys a certain reputation due to its geographical origin. It ensures that none other than those registered as authorized users are allowed to use the popular product name. If they use it, you can a state can move, or the state mostly moves. The state can move to the registrar and reprimand and basically blacklist that producer. That is the only thing which can be done in that regard. That is the only thing which can be done. There's no penalty, there's no breach in that sense. If there's a breach, you just get reprimanded, you will stop producing it. There's no penalty here. There's no the judiciary involved in that sense. Most commonly, a geographical indication includes the name of the place of the origin of the goods. Once the GI production is granted, no other producer can misuse the name of the same thing in the market itself. It also provides comfort to the consumer for authenticity. It is given by or governed by the Geographical Indications of Goods Act 1999, given by the registrar in that regard. A trademark is given to, remember, individual are given to individuals. On the other hand, GI may be used by all producers who make the product in a geographical location. This is a very important point you need to understand. You need to understand this point very clearly. Example for third point. I don't get it. Which is third point? This is this third point, or this third point. Which third point? So remember the point before you ask me to tell you which third point. So when we'll do current affairs, I'll tell you the recent additions into GI. Thereafter, I would now want to go into the discussion related to again previous page. There are multiple pages. The simple point is, now we will move to UNESCO intangible heritage. Then we'll come to these awards and all after the break, and we'll do questions also. 1 second. Okay. Now we moved from GI and the UNESCO tangible heritage to now UNESCO intangible heritage. Now, intangible, there are only 15. Two have been added recently. One is Durga Puja, used to be 13, Durga Puja, and then the latest is Garba, which we'll discuss again in the current affairs section. And before that, 13 major were there. Now here, because the list is shorter, you need to know about them, and I will try to give you, if possible, a certain audio out of that, basically Carl Bailey and all. You can listen to it, so that there's a certain memory to that. Now, the concept of UNESCO intangible heritage is very simple. It is based on the fact that it can be a skill, knowledge, expression, it can be a representation, it can be a practice, it can be an artifact, instrument, it can be a cultural space, it can be anything. Given by the UNGA, under which you have the Intergovernmental Committee for Safeguarding of Intangible Cultural Heritage. This is again a responsibility, because once you get this tag, you are responsible to protect it. Once we're done with this, we'll discuss cultural cities in current affairs again today itself. So the first intangible heritage recognized by UNESCO in India was what is called as Buddhist chanting. This is very specific to Ladakh. Again, this is the only thing which you need to know, which will help you in the examination. Other than that, you can get statement-based questions, which we'll see. So Buddhist chanting is very specific to the Vajrayanic Buddhist monasteries of Ladakh, and they have a certain way of what we call as chant mantras, and in a way to get salvation and meditate. So I'll make you listen to a little bit of Buddhist chanting so that you can understand it itself. That's it. I hope you get it, which is Buddhist chanting. India give name, yes, we give name, they will accept it. Buddhist chanting, you will have heard it for sure in your life somewhere or the other, but you didn't know. You didn't know. So mostly in Pali Prakrit, uh, because it is based on Tantra Mantra, some places Sanskrit also. Okay. Now, Buddhist chanting, first one, not very difficult. Thereafter, you have Kalbelia. Rajasthan, very important tradition. Buddhist chanting is done in these forms of big monasteries. Where is what is special? If you cannot understand the speciality of it, I have no way of telling you why it is special or not. You find it ordinary, that is your prerogative. So uh, the concept the concept is, in these Vajrayanic Buddhist monasteries, they all come together to meditate and understand it. Buddhist chanting, the way they do it, they have a certain ritual when they do it that makes it special in that sense. Then comes Kalbelia. Now, Kalbeli is basically a dance and music tradition both, and in a way, people tend to see this dance as a very simple, straightforward thing. But the women who do Kalbeli basically are doing what is called as social commentary. Are doing what is called as social commentary. Social commentary means that when she is actually dancing with multiple pots on her head, it is not a gimmick, it is basically representing societal burdens on them, and the fact that they have to still dance to the tune of society is something which basically women try to convey through Kalbeli. So very simply, Kalbelia dance is known for two instruments also. One is called Pungi and the other one is called Kanjari. I will make you listen to that. But it has mythological themes. It has in a certain way, it has a musical tradition linked to it. But Kalbeli in itself is actually related to a larger social commentary about society in that sense. In that sense. Okay, now Kalbeli, as recognized Ananya by the UNESCO, is from Rajasthan. I know there is a modified tradition or a similar tradition in Haryana, but it is the Rajasthan tradition which has been recognized. Okay. This is the Pungi. This is the dance tradition. For that, this is the song. And then there's one more tradition where women sing, and that is again social commentary, which I'll make you listen to 1 second. So this is the other tradition, and there's a dancing tradition in it. Mostly people dance, know about the dance, but it is the musical tradition which is more recognized. So this is again social commentary. It's a very interesting song. It talks about that how it says that basically it gives a commentary that my husband, when you married me, you were illiterate, and when I now check your purse or something, I find names of girls in them. So when did you become literate, my husband? That is basically the concept. That is what they actually say. My literate husband reads letters in the dark. He reads names of pretty young girls. Who made you literate, my dear husband? So it's basically, as I told you, it's about social commentary. So she's basically saying that you were illiterate when I married you. You read letters from girls in the night. Who made you literate, my husband, in that regard? So there's basically Kalbeli is that way, is quite nuanced, has multiple different understandings. So okay, then you move to the next tradition, which comes from the eastern sector of India, has multiple forms, but is very popular in Jharkhand. This is called Chhau. Now, Chha was in the news because in G20, one of the basic meetings happened in Jharkhand, and the whole Jharkhand sector, and there's a stamp also which is issued in the very iconic, what we call as iconic masks which are used in Chhau. Chhau is against dance and drama tradition, and very simply, it has 3 to 4 variations to it. One come from the Odisha sector, one from West Bengal, one from Jharkhand, but is recognized and is performing Mahabharata and Ramayana and other folklore. Sir, which channel are you using to this? This, if you write just basically Chhau UNESCO, you will get it on YouTube. Now, the Buddhist chanting, Kalbeli, Chhau, these are three new things for you. Other than that, Kudiyattam and I think Mudiyattu we discussed yesterday itself. If you have a memory for 24 hours back, I think if you remember, we discussed Sanskritic tradition form coming from Kerala. Mudiyattu and Kudiyattam are both recognized as very interesting traditions. Mudiyattu is related to the Darika, the Bhadrakali cult itself, and Kudiyattam is the Sanskritic theatre form out of Kerala. So here we don't need to discuss anything. Then we have 3 traditions which are quite important in India. One is obviously Kumbh Mela. Kumbh Mela, we already know this is Chhau. Thereafter, Kumbh Mela, we already know is very, very significant because of the fact that it is a spectacle in itself, and it does not happen in one sector. Kumbh Mela happens in Haridwar, Ujjain, Nasik, and Prayag, and is again linked to the larger story of Samudra Manthan, because it is believed that when the nectar, the Amrit was being taken from the Samudra to Lord Vishnu, basically the drops of Amrit fell into these rivers in these 4 sections, and therefore Haridwar, Ujjain, Nasik, and Prayag are considered 4 areas where in certain places, in certain nakshatras, it is considered very, very important to take this holy dip. Ritualized bathing is something which is part of Indian culture generally, but Kumbh Mela got recognition for ritualized bathing with the sacred pitcher story, which is basically Samudra Manthan story. Then you have a tradition which was integrated by Akbar into his court, which is Navroz, which is basically the Iranian New Year or the Persian New Year. This is very well, it's a festival. It is very well representative of Iranian culture, Persianized culture, happens in India in a very unique way. That is why it has been given recognition in India as a tradition. Then we all have been talking about a lot of things nowadays about Ayodhya and the Ram Mandir itself. But one tradition which is literally dying and is related to Lord Ram is Ram Leela. Ram Leela is the story of Ramayana enacted by certain actors. Now, Ram Leela used to be a moment in which everybody used to come together. Multiple communities used to come together. Even Muslims, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, most of the actors, the religion did not matter. They used to come together into Ramayans. But the point is, Ram Leela used to happen in every nukkad, in every district, in every place where there was in India. But now it's becoming more and more obscure because the audience itself is not there. So Ramayana, and as represented through Ram Leela, is now at the verge in the what you call as in the country of Lord Rama. The fact is, Ram Leela is now being recognized as a UNESCO intangible heritage because of its vulnerability. The Ramnagar Ram Leela is considered the most important because the whole city itself, each part of the city becomes one scene from Lanka to the one to Ayodhya, and Vrindavan, Varanasi, and Satna are also four places where Ram Leela is done very, very properly. Ram Leela and Ras Leela obviously cannot be the same. Ras Leela is of Lord Krishna. Ram Leela is of Lord Rama. Ram Leela is the story of the Ramayana as told through a certain enactment. It's a theater form. There's a theater form. That is a form of Krishna's stories in that regard. So Ram, not Ramnagar in Karnataka, Ramnagar in UP, and that is not called Ramnagar. It's called Ramanagar. That is a different spelling in that regard. Now, then we come to two festivals, or rather two very important moments in different places. One is Sankirtan from Manipur and Raman. Now, Raman was in the news. It happens in only one village in India, which is Salar Dungra in Uttarakhand. And it is a festival which is done by the whole community of that village itself. It is to basically keep the Bhumiyal Devata happy. It was in the news because there was the Uttarakhand tableau represented Raman in that regard, known for its iconic, what you can see, mass in that regard. The fact is, this is only done in a village 10,000 feet above into the Himalayas itself. And it is to basically keep Bhumiyal Devta happy. But it is how every part of the society has a certain role to play. Every occupation, every varna, every caste has a different task to play in this Raman festival itself. In that regard, keeps the tradition alive. Then you have Sankirtana. Sankirtan is the influence of Vaishnavism into Manipur. And the Vaishnav people, there are two things which happen. There's a singing tradition, and there is a very interesting, what is called a cymbal tradition. This basic, what we call as Mridangam type or cymbal as it is called, this is a very iconic thing related to Sankirtan. Sankirtan again is done in a specific period of time to keep vis-a-vis certain pujas. Now I'll make you listen. This is not technically dholak. It's a modified dholak in that regard. But we will listen to it. Vaishnava tradition coming from Manipur in that regard. One second. This is basically the basic, what we call as cymbal, and the dholak, modified dholak, the Manipuri dholak in that regard, which is used. Again, only have to remember there's a singing tradition also where women sing. What is in the middle is basically the kalash. They establish the kalash and thereafter sing around it and celebrate around it. So we have done Mudiyattu, Kudiyattam, Raman, Ramlila, Kalbeli, Buddhist chanting, and you have Sankirtana and Kumbh Mela. Are we clear about these? Anybody? Navaros along with that? Done. Okay. And Chao, yes. Okay. Thereafter, the next set is three things which we already know about. One is yoga. Obviously, everybody knows yoga has been given a intangible heritage tag recently with regards to a tradition in India. We'll be discussing the philosophy of yoga on Saturday. For anybody who is just joined or has not been, on 20th January, Saturday, 1 p.m. we meet for two things. We will cover a certain portion of the whatever is left in that regard, three basic topics, plus the doubt session. The doubt session is on 20th Saturday, 1 p.m., 1 to 6 or 7, whatever time takes, we will finish everything. By 8, we will be surely done. Now, so with yoga, everybody understands and everybody knows. Then you have a specific skill which is called the Thatheras of Jandela Guru in Amritsar sector. In the Punjab sector, in Jandela Guru, we have a specific type of Thatheras, basically copper workers, bronze workers, who have been recognized as a intangible heritage skill. You would have for sure seen it in your life, which is copper objects with small dimples on them. Those dimples basically now are put by machines also, but the Thatheras have a certain way of making it, and their iconic utensil making from Jandela Guru is recognized as a UNESCO intangible heritage. Thereafter, the last major one was Vedic chanting. Under Vedic chanting, this is the see, Vedas are a tradition which were remembered by what is the use of these pots. It's just a aesthetic choice. Vedas was something which were remembered by the Brahmins and disseminated through speech, and therefore Vedas were chanted. So Vedic chanting was recognized as a dying tradition, which is within the Brahmin community, Brahmin priest itself. And though we have now written Vedas, the oral tradition of Vedas has a certain interesting idea about it. We'll listen to Vedic chanting. Other than that, the most recent was Durga Puja of Kolkata, which was given the UNESCO Intangible Heritage Tag for its culture and what was happening around it. Garba, we will discuss. When we will do UNESCO, the current affairs part. So before I give you a break here, I'll make you listen to Vedic chanting. That is the last thing. I hope the 14 done here are totally clear. That a 13 would be the total number is 13. It's not 15. 1 second. It's not 15. It's 14. 14 plus 2, which is 12 plus these two, right? Kal se class nahi hogi kya? You will have some other class, not me. Okay, let me make you listen to Vedic chanting. I don't know what is the subject which will start for you tomorrow.
But also in the unique prophets put together technique. Here is one of them, Jatapata. 2 words repeated the right way round and then backwards. With Jatapata, every syllable is repeated 6 times. नागं महिमानो महिमानो नादं नागं महिमानाः महिमानः सचन्द सचन्द महिमानो महिमानः सचन्दान् सचन्द यत्र यत्र सचन्द सचन्द यत्र यत्र पूर्वे पूर्वे यत्र यत्र पूर्वे पूर्वे साध्या साध्या पूर्वे पूर्वे साध्याः साध्याः सन्ति सन्ति साध्या साध्याः सन्ति सन्ति देवा देवाः सन्ति सन्ति देवाः.
So this is not basically Sanskrit, it is Sanskrit. So I hope now all the UNESCO intangible heritages are clear. When we come back, we'll start with small 2-3 topics and current affairs, and we'll do questions. Done? Okay. So we'll be back by 7 and we'll take the story forward. Art and culture, in that sense, has become a dynamic portion wherein current affairs is slowly but surely becoming important equally as the static. So we have to make sure that we remember this. So the first is Garba. This may be intersecting with the people who have already done the webinar. If you have not done the webinar, this is something for you. You have Garba of Gujarat getting the UNESCO Intangible Heritage recognition. Now, when we talk about where it got it in Botswana, and it is now in the representative list of intangible heritages. More than that, the reason why it was added was that there were certain things which were connected to this form in that regard, or this what we call as festival in that regard, wherein ritualistic devotional dance related to Shakti, Navratri, and over and above that, it brings in everybody together. It brings in multiple things together, wherein different castes, musicians, every walk of life, from the professionals to dancers to costume to design to landscape to everything. It brings everybody together, and therefore it creates a social bond. And that is why it was added. Dandiya is basically the stick which is used in Garba, but it is a subset of Garba. Garba is the larger concept. So I have to remember Garba from Gujarat has got this recognition. Very, very important that ways for your preparation. This is the latest edition in December 2023. Thereafter, different NGOs, government agencies, and choreographers and musicians, everybody comes together, and therefore, this is the Dandiya. Therefore, that basically becomes a moment of convergence of cultures, and that is why this is a very interesting tradition in that regard. Thereafter, something which has been developing and is developing, wherein the Central Vista Redevelopment Project. Under the Central Vista Redevelopment Project, the latest development has been the opening of the new Sansad Bhavan, or the new parliament in that regard. Rajpath has now been renamed as Kartavya Path. The first Republic Day after the remodeling of the Kartavya Path will happen just 10 days from now or 9 days from now. And you have the Rashtrapati Bhavan, North Block, South Block, which will also be changed. We will get two museums in the form of India up to 1857, from 1857 and onwards in the North Block, South Block. And the next development in this series is going to be the what we call as United Secretariat. The Central Secretariat, which is coming through, wherein the Central Secretariat will, the different ministries right now, 87 different ministries are in different areas of Delhi right now. They all will come under a centralized building which is being developed. But in that context, it becomes important that how has been the new parliament been envisaged and thought about. The old parliament is a circular building. It's a circular building based on the concept of the Chausat Yogini temple traditions which are there, where circular buildings and tribated structure, and was much very old for the new technology which can be used. On the other hand, the new parliament building is a triangle, and the two themes which have been used in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha in a way represent the new India. First is the Ashokan Chakra is common to both, where the speaker and the vice president or the chairman sits. The green color is used for the Lok Sabha. The red color, as always, is used for the Rajya Sabha. Over and above that, you have the peacock, what we call as a peacock inspired ceiling in the Lok Sabha. And here it is inspired by the evergreen and ever present lotus in that regard, feather lotus mixture in that sense. But what is more important is that this is an ultra modern new type of building where everything is based on latest technology which is available for example, from voting to how they interact with each other. A lot of this was in the focus because of the people entering into the parliament building and thereafter actually jumping from the visitors gallery into the house itself, and that in turn showed a vulnerability of the new parliament building and ITBP's lapse in that regard. But we are working on that in that sense. The simple point is the new structure can accommodate a much bigger Lok Sabha and Raj Sabha, which was needed after delimitation would happen because this population of India has actually gone over, and therefore in turn it would lead to a way of creating a new India with a bigger Lok Sabha and bigger Rajya Sabha. Okay, now now comes the recent GI designs or GI tags which have been given. Recent GI tags. In this, you have the first one, which is basically the Ladakh Sea Buckthorn. This has got the recent GI. Again, this list will keep on changing, so you can't do anything about it. Generally, the Ladakh Sea Buckthorn, which is basically grown in Ladakh, has now got a GI tag. It will help the Ladakh economy quite a lot because now they can actually brand it as a GI protected and GI recognized concept itself. Thereafter, we have Churpi, the Arunachal yak churpi. This is made out of yak milk, and that is why the Arunachali yak is very iconic in that regard. And the milk product made out of yak milk is basically now got a recognition in the form of Arunachal yak churpi. Thereafter, we have the Meghalaya Lakdong turmeric, which has again got a recognition for its very high content of curcumin, which is basically the taste which comes out of turmeric is because of that itself. We have other products also from Meghalaya which previously had a tag. Then you have from Arunachal again the Khwatai Kamti rice variety. These are the two basic things which have been recognized by from Arunachal Pradesh this time. The rice variety and the yak churpi. These two have been given. And last but not the least is going to be the Tangsa textile. Again coming from Arunachal, very iconic of the Changlang district itself. This is also iconic of the Arunachal sector in that regard. Very important in that sense. Again, this list will keep on changing. I've given it to you. What is more important is this one. Are we clear about the first two? Nothing big, nothing very out of the box, something you already know. How does anything get GI tag? Kumar, I don't know. Either you were sleeping before the break. I have discussed that. Now, the next most interesting development which has happened within the last 1 month is Kozhikode or Kozhiko and Gwalior getting what is called as UNESCO Cultural Cities Tag. Now, this is a very interesting concept in that regard, wherein Kozhikode has got it under the concept of UCCN, which is called UNESCO Creative Cities Network, wherein different cities are recognized under different tags. For example, craft and folklore, or folk art, media, film, design, gastronomy means food, literature and music. Literature and music. The basic point is the concept is to promote cooperation, to give recognition to cities, and therein, Kozhikode has got the city of literature because of the city having more than 500 plus libraries and a proper lit fest or literary fest which happens, therefore keeping Malayalam literature and the local literature alive. And Gwalior had got it for music. Obviously, Gwalior Gharana is the oldest Gharana in that regard. For music, it has got its very, very important recognition. Tansen was also born in Gwalior, and he is one of the most celebrated Navratans of Akbar in that regard. But what is more important for you is this list. You have and Gwalior, which is music. This completes the list, wherein Jaipur, Varanasi, Chennai, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Srinagar already had it. Now Kozhikode and Gwalior are the new additions. So you have Jaipur for folk and craft, obviously. Varanasi is for music, again Varanasi Gharana. Chennai for Carnatic music. Film, obviously, for Mumbai. Gastronomy, the home of biryani, which is Hyderabad. And thereafter Srinagar, again for what we see as Kashmiri art and craft, for craft, literature and music. So for music you have three for music, two for craft, one for film, one for gastronomy, and one for literature. Gastronomy means food. I have written it here. Pay attention, please. Again, Ashay, pay attention. Now, this is something you have to remember. Very, very important for your examination. Generally can come as a prelims question. Thereafter, when we were discussing GI tags, before the addition of these 5, I wanted to point out to you that there were 432. More than that, the highest number of GI tags was held by Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, and thereafter Kerala, Uttar Pradesh, and Maharashtra. But what is more important is 31 products out of this 432 actually had foreign origin. So as to point it out to you that yes, foreign origin products also get GI tags. So what we've established till this point is GI, UNESCO intangible, then UNESCO creative cities, and UNESCO tangible, and we have the parliament. I would have said 32, it is 31. Sure, that's not a big issue. With the latest edition, it becomes 32, but the data we have from the government of India is 31. Okay. C seems to be an L. Sure. See another thing. Okay. Now. Can we move one step forward? This is the latest. We'll discuss G20 as the latest, and then we'll talk about other smaller things. Okay. Now, as I'm saying, this is an old data. Now it has again revised. Now, Lothal was again in the news because the government of India is developing a national maritime heritage complex here. And basically, when this maritime heritage complex will be developed, it will have the tallest lighthouse to be ever installed to a museum in that regard. And in a way, Lothal would be the right side, what we call a site to develop a maritime museum because of the fact that it is the oldest port we have ever seen in India. But the problem with this is that with tourism and with inflow of people, the site may get a little bit more disturbed than it should be. And in that sense, Lothal was known to be in the news because of this maritime museum developing. Let us see when it gets developed, and then it becomes concrete, what we call as current affairs. So, Lothal, the dockyard, is the oldest dockyard known to the Indian subcontinent. Thereafter, this was again in the news, but again has not been asked till this point, which is the Telangana UNESCO Heritage Awards. The Telangana had got what is called as Asia Pacific Awards for Cultural Heritage Conservation in 2022 in Bangkok, and it was for two very important buildings. One is called the Qutub Shahi Bahulis, the Qutub Shahi, or what we call as the Qutub Shahi tomb in Golconda Fort in Hyderabad, has a Bauli, which is basically a step well. And this was restored by the government India along with the Aga Khan Trust. And this has been given by government of basically Telangana government of India, ASI, which is basically, and the Aga Khan Trust came together to redevelop it. Here they tried to in a way restore these Baulis because it is very important for the ecosystem, and UNESCO recognized the conservation effort in that regard by giving this recognition. On the same time, they also talked about the Domakonda Fort. Domakonda Fort is known for its very, very imperious gateways and how it was made. Domakonda Fort, again made during the same period, was restored by the same set of organizations, Telangana, the ASI, and the Aga Khan Trust, thereby restoring two Qutub Shahi monuments in this section, and they were recognized for how good the conservation was. Again, can come in the examination, Domkonda and the Qutub Shahi Baulis. You should know about them generally. Again, trying to put them into a basic perspective. Thereafter, the last major discussion we have before we go to G20 is something wherein you have the petroglyphs. Now you have what are called as geoglyphs. Geoglyphs. Now, in Ratnagiri district of Maharashtra, there are geoglyphs which are there, basically carvings into the earth or into this basic what we call as concept of the rocks is called geoglyphs. Petroglyphs is paintings. Geoglyphs is when you carve into the rock itself. Now, these have become endangered because there's an oil refinery which is getting developed in Ratnagiri. But these represent a very important moment in Indian history because they can be they can be dated to Mesolithic and Upper Paleolithic periods, and therefore again development versus heritage conservation is again in the news, wherein these petroglyphs or rather these geoglyphs are going to be in a way vulnerable to the developmental projects which are coming in this sector. So when we talk about geoglyphs, they are basically about removing the surface of the rock to create engravings. Petroglyphs is on the rock itself. So when you have the rock, you make something, it is petroglyph. When you carve something into it by taking out the rock itself, it is called geoglyph. Again, a term which you should know. You should know. Now, the last discussion we have with regards to current affairs is something which is going to become more and more static now, is the G20. And in G20, what were the things which were basically showcased as part of our culture? As past of our culture. How refinery destroys them, because when there will be an oil refinery, there will be construction activity. When there will be construction activity, there will be vibrations. Vibrations would mean basically these rocks will get displaced. G20, there are multiple things which you need to know, but to summarize what was the basic cultural aspects at showcase, one is Bharat Mandapam itself, coming from the idea of mandaps in temples. Then you have the bronze statue of Lord Nataraja coming from Tamil Nadu. Then you have the Sun Temple, Konark, and the most iconic. This is called the Bharat Mandapam. This is the mandap concept picked up from the way you see it has been raised. It is basically picked up from the concept of temples, specifically the Dravida and Nagara style, specifically the Nagara style. Thereafter, you have the bronze Nataraja statue, which we discussed previously, and further, we have the Sun Temple Konark, the wheel represented in multiple images. Yes, I know it is Anubhav Mandap, but that idea comes from Dravida. Thereafter, we also have the Nalanda University. I think I have shown you this image also. Nalanda University, which was basically represented in multiple images in one of the dinners. And other than that, we have Thanjavur paintings and Dokra art, which was given to the people who had come. We also had the sitting Buddha in Bodhi tree reenacted, and we had devotional, Carnatic and Hindustani music along with folk music showcased. But very simply, Sun Temple Konark, the Konark Sun Temple along with Nalanda University become two very important backdrops which were used in that regard. Kumargupta, Bihar, Nalanda. So you have to remember this also and keep this in your basic sphere of understanding before you go forward in that regard. This is basically the current affairs which is relevant till this point. What we will see tomorrow, is another set of issues which we will discuss, rather not tomorrow, on 20th. No, tomorrow when we'll have the webinar, we will discuss another 7 more topics in that sense. Are we clear? Because then we do previous year questions and then go to 2-3 small topics. Are we clear? You keep on adding to your repository. I will keep on doing it every month with regards to art and culture current affairs. Yes? Perfect. So this is an ongoing battle till the examination. We will keep on adding as we go forward. Right. Webinar will be after whatever class you have, ethics and governance, whatever it may be. Okay. So now be comfortable because you have to answer at least 5 to 6, 7 questions. Okay. Okay. First question. Ibadat Khana at Fatehpur Sikri was a mosque for the use of royal family, Akbar's private prayer chamber, a hall in which Akbar had discussions or held discussions with scholars of various religions, the room in which nobles belonging to different religions gathered to discuss religious affairs. And forget something. It is Akbar's place where he had discussions with religion. It is not a prayer chamber. It is not a mosque. Akbar would be the last person to develop a mosque. That too in Fatehpur Sikri. Therefore, prayer chamber, private chamber, not Ibadat Khana. This is the room in which nobles belonging to different religions. Pandits were not nobles. And different religions would not have religious affair discussion. It is a very simple concept. It is very specific to Akbar and his discussions with religious scholars. That is it. It's a very straightforward, simple question. Not very difficult if you know your basic ideas. Okay. Kalamkari painting refers to, now this use very interesting tactics. Hand painted cotton textile in South India, a hand drawing of bamboo handicrafts in Northeastern India, a block painted wooden cloth in Western Himalayan region of India, a hand painted decorative silk cloth in Northwestern India. We refresh. See, South India, Northeastern India, Himalaya, or Northwestern India. Kalamkari is from Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh comes where? confused on bamboo handicraft. Does not matter. Bamboo handicraft is going to be everywhere. So does not really matter. The only thing you needed to know was which state is belonging to, which area it is. This is called applied knowledge. They're just playing with words, nothing more, nothing less. 56% is not a very good number. Gajini effect is quite high. Discussed yesterday itself. Okay, now this is a pure difficult question. If you have memory of what we did in the first, second class, you will remember this. With reference to art and archaeological history of India, which one is amongst the earliest? Now, this can be done through basic elimination also. Lingaraja temple at Bhubaneswar, rock cut elephant at Dholi, rock cut monuments at Mahabalipuram, Vara image at Udaygiri. Correct. Vara image means that basically it is Dashavtar. Dashavtar would mean Gupta period. Lingaraja temple is also Gupta period. Mahabalipuram is Pallava, which is basically post-Gupta. These two should automatically get incorrect because rock cut hamesha always comes first. Temple building is structural temples. If you remember, I already told you in that Dholi, there's only an elephant which is there, which is basically the oldest rock cut Mauryan period pillar we found. So if you look at it, if you basically know that rock cut elephant as capital figure would be basically Mauryan. So Maurya, Gupta, Pallava, post Gupta, Gupta. So you would automatically know it. If you've answered B or C, you are forgetting one thing, that rock cut Mahabalipuram is Pallava, which is post Gupta. Now this is where timeline comes into the perspective what we are doing in class, and everything what I've taught you as applied knowledge. Some of you are applying it incorrectly, but at least trying to apply it. But the percentage should be higher on other simpler questions. Okay. This question everybody should get correct. Above 80% I want. The answer, both are built in the same period. Both belong to the same religious denomination. Both have rock cut monuments. Line again, you will know the answer. Is Maurya post Maurya? Mahabalipuram is Pallava. Incorrect. Both are same religious denomination. This is Buddhism. This is Hinduism. Both are rock cut monuments. Yes. Rock cut caves, rock cut Pancharath. Now, if you look at it, these questions are not difficult. Based on applied concepts. That's it. They're very easy questions if you have basic understanding of basic things. Not out of the box. This is why the person who does not do art and culture, or the person does not do ancient and medieval before doing art and culture, this is what happens. Because these questions are intersecting. You will call them ancient questions. You can call them art and culture questions. The simple point is there is an intersection in that sense. Okay. With reference to Manipur Puri Sankirtana we discussed, consider the following statements. It is a song and dance performance. Cymbal are the only musical instrument used in the performance. It is performed to narrate the life and deeds of Lord Krishna. The dance and drama based on only one? No. So, how is it so difficult? Building Kalyan Mandaps are notable feature in temple construction of which kingdom? Chalukya, Chandela, Rashtrakuta, Vijayanagara. Coming from what? Following Mughal emperors shifted empresses from illustrated manuscript to album and individual portrait. The question we've already done. but I want to see the beauty on still 10%. Shah Jahan, they are answering 8%. Jahangir, this is Akbar, this is Jahangir. Same question asked between 2 days. Still no, everybody is getting the wrong answer. No issues. Okay. This you cannot do. This you can do. With reference to the famous Satariya dance, consider the following statements. Satariya is a combination of music dance drama. It is a century-old living tradition of Vaishnavites of Assam. It is based on the classical rags and tals of devotional songs composed by Tulsidas, Kabir, and Mirabai. With a state, Satariya is a combination of music dance drama. Sure, why not? Satra word comes from Vaishnavite tradition of Assam. Totally correct. 1, 2 has to be there. 2 options are there. It is based on classical rag tals, devotional songs of Tulsidas, Kabir, and Mirabai. Who's the odd one out here? Who's the odd one out here? Kabir. Tulsidas is Ram Bhakti. Mirabai is Krishna Bhakti. Kabir is not a devotional song person. Kabir is known for Doha. Kabir is the one who's basically known for social commentary. So he is basically the odd one out here. This should not have been that difficult. Close reading is what is needed. That is it. So the answer becomes 1 and 2. With reference to the India's culture and tradition, what is Kalripattu? Still prevalent in some parts of South India. Ancient bronze and brass work found in southern parts of Coromandel area. It's an ancient form of dance drama living in the Malabar sector. It's an Asian martial arts and living tradition in some parts of South India. That's it. That is it. Bronze brass, no. Dance drama, no. This is a vague statement itself. D is the answer. There should be no confusion in A and D. Okay. Consider the following. Garba Gujarat, Mohiniyattam Odisha, Yashgana Karnataka. This, if Yakshagana is Karnataka, Mohiniyattam is Kerala. Either it should have been Odissi here or Kerala here. With reference to the cultural history of India, the term Panchayatan refers to an assembly of village elders, a religious sect, a style of temple construction, and administrative function. They think what this is Panchayat. Panchayatan. Multiple shrines is called Panchayatan. Not a Panchayat village elder assembly. Standard. Even it says not even political history. It says cultural history. It says cultural history. Mains question we'll do later. But very good. Anurag Keha, again, Shaimil, very good student. The first 20 or something. Vivek, you should have been up there. 5th batch you've done with me, still you're getting 19, which means in 3 questions were incorrect. You've seen these questions 6 to 7 times. Still you're getting it incorrect, that is a problem. So, the basic point is, I don't think these questions were difficult. I do not think these questions were difficult. Simple, straightforward thing. What you need is revision, and the questions are also application based. I'll show you the 2023 paper on Saturday, and we'll discuss with regards to that. Okay. You need revision, either PPT or Nitin Singhania. Sachin, you're asking me the book. Nitin Singhania, and PPT revision in that regard. Okay. Now, one small discussion which we can have today is foreign travelers. Now, see, there are two discussions I'll have: foreign travelers and ports. See, in India, foreign travelers have come from time to time from different places. Now, there is one thing which is that why are foreign travelers so important? Why are foreign travelers so important? And foreign travelers are generally important because what they do is they give us an alternative narrative about the period. Second, they point out things which are also unique and day-to-day life, and sometimes they are the only source for some areas. Now, for example, see, Megasthenes. We've already discussed, came during the Mauryan period, Chandragupta Maurya. Chandragupta written by Magas. I don't know, Femina, what you mean by that. Megasthenes Indica, that way is quite important. And Chandragupta Maurya was one of the persons who basically was the one who allowed, with Seleucus Nicator I Helena connection, allowed foreign travelers to come in. And that way, Chandragupta Maurya, Megasthenes is considered the first traveler to come into India. Then we also know about Demicus, which is Bindusara, his successor. He was the ambassador who used to sit there. Then we also know about the three Chinese travelers, Fahian, Hunsang, and Itzing. He came under Chandragupta II, which is Gupta period, and talks about the Buddhist developments under Gupta period. Then we have Hunsang, who comes under Harshvardhan, which is post-Gupta. The book Siyuki talks about the Buddhist development, goes to Nalanda in that regard. And Itzing also goes to Nalanda, stays there for 10 years. That way is quite important because Kumar Gupta will develop it, and therefore he talks about Nalanda quite a lot. Then you have Vasundhara, because it's fastest fingers first. It will only show the first 2025. Then when we go into the the early medieval period, we have one very important personality, and his name is Al-Baruni. Who basically came to India along with Mahmud of Ghazni. And why is he so important? Because for a period between that 900 to 1000, 1000 or 1100, we have no indigenous sources which give us a very encyclopedic account. On the other hand, Al-Baruni has multiple language understanding. He talks about multiple things also, and he also talks about geography, history, mathematics, smaller topics such as religion, caste, varna, everything. His Kitabul Hind is still today considered the only book available for the whole period in that regard. Now, during the same period, Abdul Razak, when Delhi Sultanate was being established, he traveled to Vijayanagara. I've already referred to him previously. He talks about the royal centers of Hampi and mentions the prosperity of the Vijayanagara Empire. That ways he corroborates, or what we call as confirms, the prosperity of Vijayanagara. Thereafter, we have a very interesting traveler who came to Muhammad bin Tughlaq's court called Ibn Battuta. Remembered in fables quite a lot because of his very ill fate. He is a Moroccan traveler coming from Africa, reaches the court of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. When he gets to know about Muhammad bin Tughlaq, Muhammad bin Tughlaq is initially very fascinated by him. He is made the Qazi of Delhi, but thereafter he will be put into jail because Muhammad bin Tughlaq did not like him. So at one point of time, he is the Qazi of Delhi, and at one point of time, he's basically in the jail itself. So therefore, that is why it is believed that you should never have the kismat or the what we call as basic understanding of Ibn Battuta. That at one point in time you're very high in as a Qazi of Delhi, and then in when it comes to your fate, you are also thrown into jail in that sense. So the way he came was he was traveling towards Multan. From Multan, he got to know that at Delhi there's Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and that is where his basically life changed. Then you have Niccolo Conti and Peter Mundi. Niccolo Conti is the one who basically reached again Vijayanagara, and he talks about Telugu language quite a lot. He thinks he's an Italian traveler, thinks that Telugu is like the Italian of the East itself. Peter Mundi, on the other hand, came during Shah Jahan reigns. And why is Peter Mundi considered so important? Again, an Italian traveler, because he gave a very interesting account, which is exactly opposite to Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan's connections or Shah Jahan's texts talk about how there's so much prosperity. Peter Mundi, on the other hand, talks about the very pathetic living situation of rural India, indicating to what we already know, which was that Shah Jahan was overspending, and in a way, on the ground, everything was not correct. It is the texts which are exaggerating the condition, but Peter Mundi gives us the real picture on the ground in that regard. Thereafter, just to add to Beruni, same person, Beruni. He is the one who translated a lot of texts also. For example, you have several Sanskrit works, including Patanjali's grammar into Arabic, and you have the Elucid, which is a Greek text into Sanskrit. So basically, he knew Sanskrit, he knew Greek, and he knew Persian. So he was able to interchange different texts into different languages, and therefore, the idea is very straightforward. That be it festivals, be it astronomy, be it the manners, the customs, be it the weights and measures, be it iconography, be it geography, religion, history, be it science and mathematics, everything was discovered, talked about, rather not discovered, talked about by El-Biruni. Then we have a person again known in European history quite a lot, Marco Polo, coming from Italy. He is the one who basically reached Rudrama Devi's court, Kakatiya dynasty, and he talked about the economic history of India quite a lot. Again, an important detail which is important for our history, because this economic aspect of the maritime trade was not that much discussed. Then we have Francois Bernier. When we talk about Francois Bernier, Bernier has a very interesting history wherein he is a Frenchman, doctor, political philosopher, historian, but he was very close to Shah Jahan, because when Shah Jahan's daughter Jahanara was burnt by oil, he basically revived her skin back. And that way, Shah Jahan had two very interesting people under him. One is Francois Bernier, a doctor, and Danishman Khan, who was an Armenian, who is basically a scientist and intellectual. These two people were very interesting people sitting in his court in that regard. Then, just to summarize, Ibn Battuta, Conti, Abdul Razak, we have Umari who comes this 1348 period, the period in which Tamr Shirin is entering into India. Then you have Pius, Hawkins, Rowe, Bundi, and Nikitin. Nikitin, we already discussed, came to the Bahmani court with a horse, thinking there's no horse trade, got looted himself. Then we already know that what Jahangir did with Hawkins and Rowe, which is the two farmans issued in 1613 and 15, and Peter Mundi giving us an alternative account. Now, this is an NCRT timeline given for these travelers. You should know it, at least the ones which are given. This is very important for you. They can be asked to put in chronological order. This is the order which was given by the NCRT. Now remember one thing, there are two Peter Mundis. There's one Peter Mundi who is from Italy. There's one Peter Mundi who's from England. And both have different time periods. So remember, they are not the same. So again, very factual area, but basically this is what you have to remember. Don't get caught up in Nitin Singhania in this. Again, very straightforward, simple thing. Last discussion which I want to have with you before I break for today and meet you on Saturday is basically again a very simple, straightforward area, which is awards and honors. Awards and honors in which again you need to know only three, which is Bharat Ratna and the Padma Awards. So 1 second. You have, it's in the beginning, 1 second. Yes. Now, when we talk about the awards, sir, some were in the news. I've already discussed with you Dhyan Chand and Khel Ratan and Purutsahan that we've discussed previously in the webinars. Here, I want to discuss the two major. One is Bharat Ratna, the other is Padmas, Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan. Now, when we talk about Bharat Ratna, there are certain peculiarities with which the basic examiner is going to play with. Bharat Ratna means obviously the jewel of India itself, given for the first time in 1954. Initially, it was only given for art, science, literature, public service. Now it is given with the concept of any field of human endeavor, meaning it can be given to anybody now. But there's a peculiarity. The peculiarity is that in any given year, there cannot be more than three people who get it. Meaning 1, 2, 3, not more than three. Not more than three people can get it. Unlike Padma Shri, Padma Vibhushan, which is given to a lot of people together, this can be only given to three people once in one go itself. And the second is it is not allowed under Article 18(1) of the Constitution as a prefix or suffix in your name. Basically, it is not allowed as a title. You cannot call yourself legally Bharat Ratna Abhishek Mishra or Abhishek Mishra Bharat Ratna. I cannot take it as a legal title because it is not allowed. It is not allowed as a suffix. As a suffix or a prefix, it is not allowed under Article 18(1). While you can use doctor, you can use military, what we call as titles. This cannot be used as a title. Then we have the Padma Awards. Now, Padma Awards have three gradations, which is the Shri, Vibhushan, Shri, Bhushan, Vibhushan. And one peculiarity about Padma Awards is, which is given in different areas, for example, sports, arts, social work, civil services, literature, education, public affairs, science and technology, trade, industries, anywhere. Civilian award in that regard. Announced every Republic Day, the new list is going to come. The basic point is, three times it was suspended, not given. 1977, 1980, 1993 to 97. Now, please understand, three times, but total number of years becomes 1, 2, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97. So you have 5 years here. So you have 8 years was not given. Please pay attention to the exam in the examination. Does it say time? Does it say years? 8 years it was not given. 3 times it was suspended, basically by the government of India. Now here you have 3 gradations. The first is Padma Shri, which is given as the first level in Padma Awards as recognition. Thereafter, you get Padma Bhushan. You have to be Padma Shri to become Padma Bhushan, and then you have Padma Vibhushan. One thing was, Padma Awards were not mostly given posthumously, which is after death. But there are 2 cases in which an IAS officer and a dancer was given the list was there, but he died in the process of getting it. So basically, they were added. Now, this is the basic thing which you need to know, which is Bharat Ratna looks like a people leaf. Then you have the lotus, Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan. Don't have to do a thesis here. They've already asked a question from this area, but a small area which you need to know. Are we clear? If we are clear, we can stop here. We can stop here after this discussion, which is basic ports. This has come in 2023. I used to tell every student of my class, remember the ports, remember the ports. It will come in the examination. It will come in the examination. And it came. Lothal, everybody knows. We already know it. Bargaza is a term which is used for brooch in Gujarat, which we already know because this was again given in the examination. Muzrish and Korkai came in the exam. Muzrish is a very important port of the Cheras. Korkai is a very important port of the Pandyas, and Korkai was directly quoted with reference to ancient India. these cities are what? And Korkai was straightforward, given in the examination. Straightforward. And thereafter you have Puduke, and you have Barbican and Sonagora. This is Puducherry, this is Karachi, and this is Bangladesh Wari. And last is Mauchlypatnam, everybody knows. And then Tamrapani or Tamralipti, which is basically West Bengal. These terms can be used in the examination. If you remember, in Vijayanagara, I gave you a map in which there were dots and all the cities were marked. And that again could have helped you answering two simple, straightforward marks by just remember that Pallur is in Odisha. It's a port, nothing more, nothing less. With this, we finish module number 9. One module is left with 3 big topics but straightforward: 6 schools of philosophy, numismatics, and award. You have science and technology and miscellaneous topics. We'll do that on Saturday, 1 p.m. when we will meet. Straightforward, simply. Thank you so much. I will see you straight either tomorrow at 8:30 and then straightforward on Saturday as my last class with you. And thereafter, all the best for your examination, which is coming very soon. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye. So, nothing really. I'll give you the last strategy and everything on Saturday because that is going to be the last class for us.